Hi, my name is Catherine. I am a member of HTF Cohort 5. I will be a history teacher starting my residency this fall, and I am super excited to be here today with Eric Soto-Shed, who is our master teacher in residence for history and was also our founding director. So without further ado, Eric, why did you choose to join HTF?
Hi, Catherine. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me. As far as that first question around why did I decide to join HTF, it really has to do with sort of my lifelong commitment and passion and interest in seeing young people excel and thrive and be their best possible selves. And in order for that to happen, our nation needs great teachers, and we don't have that on the scale in which we need it, right? We're having a major issue in producing a high number of quality teachers, despite the numerous wonderful teachers that are out there doing great things. And so I saw HTF as a chance to work directly with talented, committed young people to help them become great teachers, but also as a university to advance the vision of what great teacher training could look like. And so I saw it both having a direct impact on the students, the fellows that I work with to support them, as long as this larger mission to really create a model of what a great teacher training can look like and the ample effects that that could have throughout the system.
And why do you think teaching history is important?
I would say teaching history is important for two reasons. The first is that and it's almost a bit cliche, but I think it's fundamentally true, is that, you really can't understand the present without understanding the past. So if you look at issues around immigration, inequality, religion, just our physical space and where we're at today, you cannot really understand that without understanding the historical developments that have led to this current moment. And so when we're talking about whether it's personal decisions, national and more global policy decisions, if it's just trying to understand the world around which you live today, understanding the past and the developments that have brought us to this point is fundamentally essential. That's the first reason. The second reason is really through critically analyzing the past, you cultivate the exact and very necessary skills you need to critically analyze the present. And so understanding history becomes a great sort of a space to develop and cultivate a critical consumer of knowledge. So I think to sort of our introductory work that we'll be doing this summer on how you introduce historical thinking, the same sort of skills that we use to analyze historical texts from 300 years ago will be similar to the skills that we look at to analyze a tweet or to make sense of information that we see on Facebook versus Wikipedia versus maybe a news report. And so teaching and learning history is really an opportunity to cultivate, I think, critical consumers of knowledge. And then it's also just, I think, very fun and interesting, and we're about telling stories, and that's just, I think, really cool to do as well as important.
So speaking of understanding the present, how do you see distance learning and COVID-19 affecting K through 12 education in a post-pandemic world?
Um, so in a few ways, I think, and it's very hard to predict. But one thing that I think is going to come sort of a lesson learned is really that this pandemic and current moment has really shined the lights on the inequities in our system, and we've had decades and centuries of evidence of this. But I think it's becoming really really apparent in terms of students' access or inequitable access to devices, to internet, to environments where they can really kind of thrive and do their work. And so I think that has really shown a major light on that, and that my hope is that after the pandemic, that commitment to equity still really is ample, strong, and evident. And that's not to say also that there haven't been a ton of teachers in schools and districts that have done a phenomenal job in really getting students the supports that they need. I think it's been impressive, but we've also seen that we're just not doing enough. And so I think it's going to be, my hope is that there's going to be a real strong commitment to doing more for all of our students. So that's one piece. Second, I think that this moment is really an opportunity to deliver on this sort of century-long promise and falling short of a promise for technology to transform education. When feature films became popular in the early 20th century, it was said that they would sort of transform the way that we teach and learn. And we know from our own experiences, this is from the documentation, that, education has remained largely unchanged. And I think that this large scale, quick transition has forced people to be really innovative. We're also fortunate enough that the tools that are available to us are just unprecedented in terms of their power and dynamic and accessibility of these tools. And I think a combination, they say that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, we got a whole lot of necessity, and I think a whole lot of folks that are being innovative right now, including your peers in cohort 4. I think some of the work that I've seen fellows do in the past few weeks has just been really thoughtful. It makes me think, even when we come back to a place where we're doing it in person, some of the stuff that I think I've seen them do at a distance online might be better. And so I think that that's going to be really exciting to see how we can really fully leverage technology. And I think that this moment is pushing us to do that. So I think that's the second piece. And then the last piece, I think it's going to really push us to sort of reimagine school and the physical space, right? Because right now we're learning by sort of subtraction how important that person-to-person contact is, and being together in the same space. And I think realizing how precious that is, it's really going to be the impetus to think, when we're all together, do we really want kids reading textbooks? Do we really want kids passively listening? Do we really want kids filling out worksheets? What is the high leverage, high value of us being together and working together? And so I think that through not having that, that's going to really recognizing the value of that, and that's going to really force us to think about how we could use that well. So that's the third piece. And then actually another piece just comes to mind right now. Forgive the sirens in the background. I do live near a medical center, so that's the reality that we're in right now. But I think another thing is that my hope is that we also leave with a new respect for the teaching profession right now, because I think a lot of parents are struggling and seeing the challenges, how hard it is to help young people learn. And I think that no doubt our first responders, our healthcare professionals are just unbelievably the heroes in this moment right now. But I think that what parents are seeing through their sort of struggles, and also just seeing what it takes to really educate their child, I think it really becomes insights into some of the important work that teaching does. So I hope that we kind of leave this moment with a more respect and understanding for the profession.
Great. And so our final question is, how would you describe the HTF community?
Um, the HTF community it's wonderful. I think it's first and foremost, I think it's fellow driven. I mean, fellows just make this a wonderful community. I think we have a dedicated staff and faculty, but it is really the wonderful, I think, work and what fellows bring to it. I would describe it as a group of folks who are committed, supportive of one another, ambitious in what they hope to achieve, and humble in recognizing how hard it is to achieve. I think it's a group that really is passionate about just working with young people and supporting young people and partnering with young people to help them develop. And so it's just a great group. I also think there's just a degree of sort of a fun and joy, as well as sort of sharing through the challenges, and sort of realness and sort of vulnerability that I think this makes for a community. When you talk about the whole being greater than the parts, I mean, we have some great folks individually, but the cohort and the community is just something that's really phenomenal.
Great. Well, that's all I have. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and thank you. And thanks to everybody out there that's listening and checking out. I hope you can learn a little bit more about HTF.